from our clients as well as from others on how should I structure my organization? What do I need to do to change to meet the needs of today's growing situations? And before we do anything, we have to understand what is span of control and what does span of control mean? And by definition, it is the number of subordinates that report to a manager or leader. So when we're talking about span and we're talking about management structure and we're looking at the organization, it really is very simple. How many people report to the leader? How many people report to the manager? How many people is the director overseeing? How many managers is the director overseeing? How many VPs report up to the C-suite executive? And this starts to really build out the framework for the leadership team and the framework for the management team. And when we're talking about span of control and we're talking about leadership structure, there are vast differences on how organizations actually build their structures. And, there's a term in the industry that if you've seen one hospital, you've seen one hospital. If you've seen one healthcare system, you've seen one healthcare system. And this is so true. There are wide differences between academic medical centers and critical access facilities. There are big differences between large multi-practice specialties and practices that only have one provider. So when we're talking about span of control and clients reach out to us and ask, well, what should our span look like? What should our ratio be? The answer always is, it depends. And it depends on a lot of different factors. But let's break it down to really talk about narrow span of controls versus wide span of controls or broad span of controls, and understand a little bit about these two definitions so that we can then really build context into ratios that we're seeing across the industry. So what does it mean to have a narrow span of control? Well, when you have a narrow span of control as a leader, sometimes you may be a manager or a director and actually have no one that is reporting to you. That would be as narrow as you can possibly get. And this happens often for a lot of different reasons. But when we're talking about this, narrow span of controls can end up to have lots of multiple layers of reporting. There can be discussions made to prompt narrow span of controls because you're looking at succession planning for your organization. You may determine that you need to closely supervise a manager or a leader because they are new in their role or they don't have as much experience. So you only want them to have a few direct reports or subordinates.